All right, so before we talk about the snow potential for next week, let's talk about what's going on right now. And my radar here, there we go. Okay, now it's not frozen. We have a system moving down through the upper Midwest. It's bringing some light snow across Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, northern Illinois. And this thing is going to keep on moving down into the Ohio Valley region through the evening and overnight period. It's not really going to bring a lot of snow. In fact, less than 1 inch of snow is expected across the region due to this system. But it is going to deliver a reinforcement shot of cold air, and it's going to help fuel the lake effect snow that is currently ongoing across Michigan, including Marquette, and also northeastern Ohio, northwest PA, western New York, in the snowbelt regions of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, where lake effect snow warnings and winter storm warnings are in effect, and they're going to remain in effect through the new year due to this long duration lake effect event. And that is being fueled by two more systems coming through. This one right here in the upper Midwest, and then later in the week, there's going to be another system coming down through. And it's going to keep this northwest flow over the lakes alive in order to keep this lake effect snow event going through the end of the week into this coming weekend. So, an additional, some places are going to receive upwards of 3 to 4 feet of snow, especially where the lake effect bands are most persistent. The main impacts with this are going to be whiteout conditions on and off in different regions through the end of the week, and travel is going to be treacherous, if not impossible, and potentially life threatening, especially in the heaviest of snow bands. So, definitely needs to be monitored. And if you live in one of these regions, if you don't have to go out, just stay home. That's probably where you want to be anyways. You probably don't want to be driving out in this. It's not fun when you can't see the roads and you can't see the lines and you can't see even 5 feet in front of you. But let's take a look at the current temperatures across the upper Midwest and the Northeast. All right, so looking at the current temperatures, it is a cold one out there this morning, especially across the northern tier. Minneapolis is at 18 degrees. Des Moines, Iowa is at 28. Jefferson City, Missouri is at 31, and Milwaukee at 18. Chicago, 1 degree warmer than Milwaukee at 19 degrees. Indianapolis is at 22, and Columbus, Ohio is at 22 also. Taking a look across the Northeast, I still have Olaf here on the picture because it really fits right now. It is brutally cold outside. I mean, not the worst we've ever seen, but it makes me just want to stay home. Harrisburg is sitting at 30 degrees. That's from HIA. Syracuse is at 21. Trenton, New Jersey is at 30. NYC, the big city, New York City, 33 degrees. Boston is at 27, and Augusta, Maine is at 17. Now let's take a look at the model guidance. I want to show you the lake effect snow here, and I also want to show you the next two systems that are going to help keep this lake effect snow event alive. And then we're going to look ahead into next week because there is the potential for snow. Not much is really known at this point because it's so far out, but I want to show you what we're looking at. All right, so we're going to start by looking at the upper air map here. And right here, I'm going to circle with my cursor. This is the first piece of energy. This is a system that is coming through the upper Midwest right now, bringing light snow across the upper Midwest, including Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, and northern Illinois, which will be moving into the Ohio Valley region through this evening into the overnight period. Like I said, bringing very minimal accumulations, if any, more like a dusting, but definitely less than an inch in all the areas. But it is going to help stir up some more lake effect. It's going to help keep this lake effect event alive. All the snow will dissipate over the Appalachian Mountains here. It's a very weak system, so it's not going to make it over the mountains. But I'll show you that. I'm going to move this along here. Let me see if I can get my computer to work. All right, so there's that first system. And then here is our second reinforcement shot of cold air, this piece of energy right up in here. This is going to move down into the mid-Atlantic late this week. And this will be a little bit more potent than this first one here, but still nothing super concerning, but it is going to help keep this lake effect event alive. So towards the end of the week, we're going to have an uptick in lake effect snow bands again, and I'll show you that on the surface map, but that's that piece of energy going out this way, out to sea. And I'm going to show you what it looks like at the surface here. Let's pull that surface map up. All right, so here is the light snow associated with that first piece of energy that I showed you. We're going to move this along here, and it's going to move down into the Ohio Valley region. and it's not going to make it past the mountains, like I said, because it's a very, very weak system and not a whole lot of moisture associated with it, but it's going to help keep that northwest flow over the lakes alive longer to help with this long duration event for lake effect snow. And then here is the energy associated with that second piece of energy later in the week. This is Thursday this is Wednesday at 7 p.m. And you see that uptick in lake effect snow. And you might get some along the coast here, especially in New England, as the storm exits the coast. It might strengthen a little bit and bring some coastal snow, very light, not much accumulation, but along the coast of New England, including Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and also into Maine. But really, the big story is going to be the cold. We're going to be locked in the cold for quite some time. I want to show you here with the thicknesses. So the 540 line we look at, as we call it, the snow line in meteorology. If you want snow, you want to be north of the 540 line. Look how far, I mean, it's not super far south, but it stays south of PA over the weekend and through a good portion of next week also. So we're really going to be locked in the cold. I'll show you the upper air map here too as to why we're going to be locked in the cold. But like those two systems that are going to be coming down, the one that's coming down now and then the one that's coming down later this week, they're just going to help reinforce the cold air that we already have in place. And cold air means chances for snow, which I'll show you here in a second. But we're going to be locked in this northwest flow. And so it's going to keep the northern portion of the U.S. in the cold. Now, you do get this ridge forming in the central U.S., and that is why the 8 to 14-day outlook, if I'll show you it in another video, but they are expecting above average temperatures across the central U.S. again. And that is thanks to this lovely ridge that's building in here. But we're going to be locked in the northwest flow here in the northern U.S., so we're going to be in the cold for quite some time. I mean, it's going to be more on the lines of average. There will be days where it's below average, but it's definitely going to be colder than what it has been. So that's going to be the main story. But I want to show you here what we're looking at for next week. We don't really know a whole lot about it, but it's starting to show on models where we are seeing a signal pointing towards the potential for a snowstorm, whether that's along the coast or it cuts inland and you get another snowstorm in the Midwest. That's unknown at this point. The track is not known, but we're looking ahead to see what the potential is. So I'm going to show you that here in just a second. So if you watched the video from yesterday, I showed you what the GFS was showing with the potential for a snowstorm along the coast. The models are going to be going back and forth right now. And this is a completely different solution as to what it was showing last night. But you get this piece of energy out here in the Southwest Pacific. And if we move this along, you'll see this piece of energy gets out ahead of the trough. And now it has it cutting up north through the upper Midwest, bringing a substantial snowstorm possibly to the upper Midwest late next week into the weekend. I'll show you that here. So here it cuts up, that piece of energy cuts up north through the upper Midwest. But I'll show you what it looks like at the surface before, but move it to the surface map here. And then that's what it's showing at the surface. You get this snowstorm through the upper Midwest into southern Canada. And then, but there is going to be the potential for snow in the beginning half of January as of right now. There are signals pointing towards storminess and cold. And if you get a storm to interact and play with that cold air, you get snow. So the potential is there. Just because the models are showing it cutting up into the Midwest right now doesn't mean the next model run or two model runs from now, it doesn't switch back to showing a coastal storm. Right now, the models are going to be going back and forth. And a small difference in modeling can mean at least a few 100-mile difference in tracks of the storm. So it's really a lot is still remains unknown, but the potential for snow exists in the beginning half of January. So like I said, if we can get a storm to play with that cold air and breach that cold air, we can get snow. It just really depends on how the pieces of energy come together and where is the cold air at that point. So I will keep you guys updated because the models are going to continue to change. But we'll see if we can potentially get a snowstorm along the East Coast. I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the potential is there.